Strengthening the cultural bridge between Africans and African Americans. My name is Ebony Tyson. I'm just so excited. My cheeks over here hurting because I'm just smiling so much. You know, it's just So for our next question for our Emma Swati, what is an Umlungu, and why do you also call Black Americans Umlungu?
Oh.
This is going to be an interesting chat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, you guys, the only reason why we also call Black Americans Umlungu, Umlungu is a white man, actually. Okay, not only a white man, but according to our mindset, we are stereotyped that Umlungu, it's a person who is from overseas. So the reason why we also call Black Americans Umlungu, it's just that you come on a way whereby the also white men come like because you come you come as a Peace Corps volunteer, and you know will then easily clarify you as if you are in Umlungu, because most of the Peace Corps volunteers, it's being the white men. So we then also call you Umlungu because you also come just like the white man. And I know that Miss Tyson doesn't really like that name. I know for a fact.
Yeah.
I know for a fact. I remember that day when we were from school, after sorting the papers right there at the billboard, and there was another guy which I know, and when he met me, he said, hey, Kambanjan. And I say, yeah, Kambanjan. Umlungu. And Miss Tyson said, who is Umlungu? I'm not Umlungu. You can't see. Can't you see that my black is black as yours, like yours? And and I was amazed because he was supposed to be like he was supposed to be patient and to just accept that maybe I'm in Umlungu because I'm from overseas, and I'm pretty sure that they are going to describe me just like that. But he don't feel like the cool Umlungu, and I clearly understand right now. Umlungu means it's not you. Yeah, you are not Umlungu.
I don't see no Umlungu nowhere. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason why we end up calling Black Americans Umlungu. We are just trying to easily clarify you guys. Not that it's an insult or just that it's just that we are trying to easily describe you just like the others. I don't know, maybe she can add something.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Clarifying that. Yeah.
I love that, and the reason why I love Sambula's explanation is because he speaks about intent and effect, right?
Yeah.
And you see, a lot of the time when someone says Umlungu, well, the only reason I just have a problem with the way the whole statement, like, you know, like awongiphe lo mlungu, basically meaning please give me that white person. It's like, you know, that language I don't really appreciate because I mean I'm my own person, so you can't get me. Like, but anyway, personal. Yeah. So Umlungu, another actually explanation of Umlungu is someone who is your boss.
Exactly.
So that's why I say it's so interesting, because it's going to be an interesting chat, because it then again goes back to the like inferiority complex, superiority complex dynamic that you have there, right? So intent and effect, when you are in an environment where someone is saying nangumlung, so meaning here comes the white man, or it can mean here comes your boss, or here comes the person with the most money in the room. So it's a pregnant statement. So it can mean a variety of different things, but in the context of this conversation, it obviously is referring to, I'd say the most part where you hear it is them referring to you as perhaps the class of, let's say, white men coming from America kind of thing. So I think it's another, I'd say, to myself personally as Tandega, Umlungu, I would say, is just simply a white person. That's the context that I use it in all the time. But also, it's not an offensive word, right? Like the word Umlungu is merely, in the Swati language, a description of a person being white, so again, in the book that I read, Yak Yasi's Homegoing, one of the things that she says is the obsession to describe things and to label them as good or bad came from the Christianization of the Ghanaian nation at the time. So even with this distinction and changing and labeling of people, it comes from that heavy Christianization and that model to say things must be defined. So I must say, I can't say simply that a person walked through the door, because the Swati language in and of itself is very gender non-conforming, right? So you'll never say, in our language you can say, bangene mnyang, mama wangene mnyang. There's no gender conformity there. In fact, there isn't even a description of what she looked like, because our language is very accommodative of who you are, and we respect the essence of a person. But with the introduction of the English language that rolls off our mother tongues, we needed to start classifying things. So, is this cup black or white? It's white. The phone is black. Everything had to be described. Is it good to marry one wife? Is it bad? Is it terrible to drink beer on a Sunday? Is it great? There has to be that distinction to describe behavior, which never existed before. So I would say it's kind of like an off-put and like an outcome of slavery and all its architecture. So everything that came with slavery then resulted to the change of language, and hence then how we address each other, which is why also you feel disrespected when someone says that to you, because even though you don't identify with it, there is a inherent need for that person on a cognitive level to classify you, because that's what they've been doing their entire lives. So I'd say, yes, intent, effect, two different things, but also very pregnant statement. And lastly, I don't think it's meant to be offensive. And, the outcome is based on our history as well.
Yeah.
Thank
you for sharing that.
No, that's
such a great
fantastic.
speech.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
Can I go?
Go for it, sis. I'm like charged. I'm ready. I was like, huh.
You're like, let's go. Okay, so thank you for sharing that, both of you. For us, to piggyback off of that, our question is, how do you feel when local Swazi call you Umlungu? And do you feel like your identity with the term when local Swazis call you Umlungu? I'm sorry, do you feel that you identify with the term when they call you Umlungu? Why or why not? Well, he already kind of introduced how I felt, but I guess I am offended because again, when we come, okay, let me tell you the beginning. Let's start from the beginning.
Do we have the time?
Yeah, we got the time. We got the time. Okay. So when I went to Cape Town, I went we had this event where we were doing this cultural thing, and we went to the townships. Don't ask me why, but we went to the townships because anyone who've been to South Africa know, like, okay, you have this big disparity. You got a whole bunch of white people or other races who are well off. You've seen them in these nice homes, driving these nice cars, and then you go a little bit further out of that touristy area in Cape Town, and you see these people living in townships in this horrible, it's like real poverty, and it's very unsettling, especially coming from a black person. Like, being there, you're like, wait a minute, this is messed up, especially because in Africa, the majority is black and the minorities are white. And then in America, the minorities are, people of color, and also the majority is white. So also just mentally, you're changing that mindset of, okay, here the minorities are the rich people and the majorities are the people who are, the
natives.
Yeah, the natives are the ones who are, at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of economic status. And so I went to this cultural thing, and I was expecting to be embraced. I'm like, it's only about 4 black people that's in it. It's a whole bunch of other white kids who are in the study abroad group. And I'm expecting to be embraced. I'm seeing the kids. I'm like, yeah, come on, y'all. No, that it didn't happen like that. So they went straight to the white people. They embraced them first. And, you know, they were calling me white as well. That's the first time I was heard white. And I had to check myself, like, what are they talking about? And I had to ask people, like, you know, what that meant. Of course, we're learning, you know, that meant, like, you're privileged and all of those things. But, yeah, I didn't get that embrace that I was expecting. And it was really traumatic for me, actually. And I didn't realize that until I came back here, that it was traumatic. So... because it's like when you go and visit a family, right? Let's say I go and visit my family I haven't seen in a long time, and I bring a friend with me. And I come and I see them and they embrace my friend before they embrace me. You're like, dang, what about me? You know, like, we're supposed to be family. What about me? And then you start feeling like you're not enough, you know, in terms of, okay, I feel like I'm not enough in America. Then we got, you know, problems with even people in our you know, with other black people, right? And then you come here and you're expecting to be embraced, and then you got these problems and you're still being put in this box. It's like, dang, I don't fit here and I don't fit here. And so when I'm called Umlungu here, I feel like I'm being put in a box again, because it's like, you're not taking the time to really get to know me, you know, to know in reality, I don't come from privilege. I don't come from a silver spoon. And I feel like it creates a division. Again, it's creating this division, right? What you were saying in terms of that, you know, coming from slavery, coming from that, you know, that mentality, it because it makes me not want to deal with you. Like that time me and Sambulo talking about, it's like, dang, I don't want to run into that man again because he don't call me Umlungu again. You know, I don't want to, you know, engage now, because now I know you're putting me in a box. Now I know that more than likely your thinking is not going to go beyond what I tell you, because you already have your idea of what you think I am. Which, yes, it's just unfortunate, because and I know the intent doesn't really mean that you're being offensive, but that connotation, right, that you were talking about, that's just how I'm feeling. And I'm already on the fence because of the traumatic experience I've already had, you know, and it even goes as deep into, you know, when I'm out with like my white counterparts or whatever, I feel like I'm already about to be classified in this way. You don't even see me as an individual. Now you see me with a white person, so you're going to still call me Umlungu and put me in this box, you know? So yeah, it's just unsettling for me.
Marked by association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So.
right. Yeah.
And I would agree with you. I think from coming from the South, I am hypersensitive about being called white. And funny enough that even in Mbaga, people make fun of my skin tone. So like, I'm actually showing 3 shades of brown on me right now, because of how the sun is loving me in Eswatini. But if I was back in the U.S. and it's winter and it's February right now, I would be a little bit more brighter, like very bright. And so people would be like, "Oh yeah, he is white." Be like, "Or you're mixed," or who in your family is white? And I'm like, "Nege, no one. No, my mom is black, my dad is black, but my mom is lighter skinned than me. My sister almost looks Asian, so we always had a joke with her. But being called white, I go like that, and I'm like, who, where, huh? What do you mean? I'm not. And so sometimes I will shut it down and say, if you call me white, I'm going to walk away from the conversation. And in that way, at least they can say, oh, he is not white, he's black, or he's something else. And then they will continue to engage. And then, but sometimes I still feel like they only want to engage me because I come with something of the boss aspect of, oh, he comes with money. And I'm like, and that it's really made me be a bit more intentional of who I work with, or who I'm talking to, because I want to make sure that if we're working together, it doesn't benefit you, the older in Mswati, here in Mbaga, or in Big Ben, but it benefits the youth within Mbaga. And so it's so that's how I try to make sure that the conversations of who I'm working with really see me as, oh, that's Togazani, the Black American. But yeah, it's a hypersensitivity. And when I explain to folks about my parents, they're like, tell us more. And that's why it's the praise thing that really sets me off, that like, no, we don't have a praise name to tell you where we come from. Like if I had a praise name to tell you that my mom comes from Louisiana, plus the history of Louisiana, the Creole influence, the French influence, the Spanish influence, the British influence, and then whether you're coming from California, the Spanish influence there, or the Mexican influence there. So it's hard to identify my skin tone with my name when I don't know that. All I can tell you is, hi, I'm John, I'm black, but I'm actually brown, right? And so like the struggle for black and brown folks to really find their identity is always going to be a struggle, because all we can say is, I'm an American. And I think James Baldwin really makes it clear that Black Americans, and I'm going to use Black Americans, I'm just going to use Black Americans, because there's a difficulty for us to identify or express our identity because of all the things that we feel constantly in the U.S.
Yeah.
Whether it's the police, whether it's affirmative action, whether it's going back on gender roles, or whether it's even medical access for black women or for black males. It all compensates our identity and how we've been mistreated. And so that's why for me, like when I'm called white, it's a trigger.
It is.
It's a trigger.
Yeah.
But I know that, but I'm so glad that you are here with us today to really explain, like, hey, calm down. Because again, it really, like in the US right now, there could be 50 of us to just jump on you for making that statement. But again, in this small space, we can have this dialogue and be like, oh, great, thank you so much. But let me tell you from our perspective, like, white means this to us. And even from, like, she's from Detroit, that's a whole different context of being called white. But from the South, knowing the slave history, knowing the racial mentality that my father went through, the Men's March, the inspiration that MLK led in Memphis and other great cities like that, we all have a different context of what it means to be called white or being associated with white. And how, like, we get judged for that too. Oh, you hang out with those white people, John. Oh, you talk white. Oh, look at you talking the King's English. I'm so sorry. Let me speak Ebonics for you real quick, right? Like, will that make my black card even better for you? So it's a complex thing to say, like, to call me white, because I'm like, I'm not. Like, how more can I do? I need to wear my Chucks? Do I need to wear my Timberland? Do I need to wear baggy pants? Do I need to wear a baseball hat? Do I need to wear a tank top with a gold chain? Do I need to look like a gangster? Do I need to look like 50 Cent? Do I need to look like... What do I need to do to prove my blackness? And so it's hard. But again, I'm very happy by just being called the Black American, because at least that way I'm distinct and I have my own history there.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That was powerful. And again, that you expressing it just had me, like, inside feeling like that anxiety and the anxiousness, because even, you know, it's like, oh, I got to constantly prove myself. I got to constantly prove myself in America. I got to constantly prove myself here in Africa. When can I just be accepted? Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, with who I am. And like I said, it just kind of makes me feel like you're saying, you're not one of us. You might look like one of us, but you're not one of us. It makes me feel like that inside, but it's because of that trauma, right? So it's not even about y'all or you know, about when people say it, but it's the trauma that comes from it. So yeah, but again, like John said, we gonna relax, but
I just want to say,
context,
I welcome it, because it puts me in a new space. Because if I was in the U.S. right now, la 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 la. I'm in my space. I'm in my room. I'm in my shell, right?
Not thinking about
My
it.
American bubble. But
Yeah.
here, it makes me grow.
Yeah, and
It-
look, yeah,
It makes me want to say, how do I connect with this descendant? This place where like I could have once called home. Because the ideal is it's a possibility. It's the Marvel what if, right? Like
The
what
Marvel
if
what if, yeah.
I stayed where I was, where I look where my majority is.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Caribbean, South America, Africa, etc. Right? The
yeah.
list could go
We
on.
everywhere, right?
But the what if, and so I'm happy to be in this weird place of awkwardness, sadness. You need to grow
yeah,
and connect, or do you just stay where you are?
yeah,
So this is why, like, thanks for coming.
yeah,
Thank you for allowing me to be here, and thanks for laughing at how I speak your mother tongue, because at least I am trying
yeah,
to connect with you.
yeah.
And I think that is a good place to be at right now.
It is.
Ah.
I appreciate it too. And I think when we get back home, we're going to be, trying to educate other people, about it. And it will
spread the
feel like,
information.
okay, so now I got to break it down to you because they won't really know until you come here. You know what I mean? So so I'll end with what we're saying with this quote that, I'll end with that question. We ain't done, y'all. We ain't done. So I'll end with that quote saying that I saw online, actually on Facebook, but it was a good quote. To be African American is to be African without memory and American without privilege.
Oh, yo.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was deep because I think
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just what we said, that just kind of wraps up
Yeah.
that context.
And I will just say, I don't want to steal the spotlight, but
No, you're
the
fine.
statement goes very well with what's happening in context to the U.S. politics right now. Whether it's we're rolling back affirmative action, whether we're making new laws how you can vote. Right? Whether it's redlining, whether it's counting marbles, which I'm sure some state will try to make that happen again, or whether it's this population has too many minorities that could change the vote of a Republican or Democratic legislative person, right? Like let them vote. I think that's a part of our amendment. I think like you have a right to vote. It's no longer like you're 18 white male. It's your American citizen. It's your right.
Yeah.
But again, something's wrong in the waters.
We could be here all day on that one.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Please be a part of the conversation by commenting below, and sharing and spreading the knowledge is the first step to strengthening the cultural bridge between Africans and African Americans. Again, my name is Ebony Tyson, and we are sending you love all the way from Eswatini, Africa. Let me get